I hate Scott Pilgrim because I am the 8th ex-boyfriend, and therefore I hate you, Scott Pilgrim. I hate you, Scott Pilgrim, for I am Joe, which is to say that upon my birth, my parents, Joe Sr. and Monica, placed upon me this title, which designates me as me and separates me from all the others. And no! You may not take Ramona! Which is to say, form a relationship with her in which you take her out to various functions with the expectation that eventually you may or may not get laid on any given night. No! Instead, you may expect to feel the full force of my force lightning! I just want to let everybody know right off the bat that I hated the first 30 minutes of this movie. Absolutely hated it. But the rest of the film was fucking awesome! I'm having trouble describing it. I need a new word. It was, fangasmic. No, it was badastic. No, I got it. It was super fantastical ostatabuloso! No, needs more epic. I need your help. You need to help me come up with a word to describe Scott Pilgrim. Combine 2 or 3 already existing words, and we'll make a new one to describe how awesome this film is. Super fantastical ostatabuloso! The visuals were amazing. The fights were creative. Some of the best fight sequences I've ever seen filmed. And it's even more of an accomplishment when you realize that there are 7 of them and that they could have easily gotten boring. But, it all came as a shock. I have never done such a huge 180 in the middle of watching a film. I hated the first 30 minutes with a passion. I was like, what the fuck is this? This is stupid. These jump cuts are annoying as fuck. And they made me sick a little. It's all just so jarring. They got like words popping up on screen as people talk. It's almost as if they're just trying too hard. It's hard to describe. It was aimless at a breakneck lightning speed because of the jump cuts. Now, a lot of you have already argued that, hey, that's the way the graphic novels are. The beginning of them is boring, stupid, and uninteresting. But you know what? This is a movie. I don't care if that's the way it's supposed to be. And that wasn't even it. I had complaints with the way it was filmed. It was just poorly filmed, poorly executed for the first 30 minutes. But it's almost like 2 completely different movies here. Because when the movie calms the hell down, when it stops using these bullshit tactics to make it more interesting, and actually starts the action, that's when this film turns into something else. The second Patel bursts on the screen, it is the film that I completely and totally expected. It was better than expected from that point. This man saves the movie for me. After that, it was one of the best movies I've seen all year. And unlike anything I've ever seen, it's like a cross between all of the video game goodness and the superhero movies. I loved every single second of the fight sequences. The fight choreography was amazing. Everyone take note. This is how a fight scene should be filmed. The fights in Scott Pilgrim were actually 1,000 times better than the Expendables. And I was already happy with the Expendables hand-to-hand combat. And the martial arts is surprisingly good. I was impressed by all these little emo kids flying around screen and some of my favorite like parody action stars. Now I know Michael Cera probably had an action double, but I know some of the scenes were actually him. That's pretty impressive. The same with all the 7 evil X's. My favorite X's, besides the 8th X that they had to cut from the film, luckily I got that footage for you, I would have to say is like a tie between the action movie star and the vegan Brandon Routh's character. Maybe that's just some of the Superman carryover that I like him a little bit, even though that movie was a terrible.
We have unfinished business, I and he.
He and me.
Don't you talk to me about grammar.
I dislike you, capiche?
Tell it to the cleaning lady on Monday.
What?
Because you'll be dust by Monday. Because you'll be pulverized in 2 seconds. And the cleaning lady, she cleans up. Dust. She dusts.
But I gotta tell you that the beginning of this movie, it started out feeling disingenuous. It was like geek bait. Just because you put 1,000 different tea flavors for geek girls and a pea bar for geek guys doesn't make nerds, geeks, and gamers automatically like your movie. Shut up! Shut your mouth! Shut up! Shut up, sir! Shut your mouth! You see, you have to earn that love, and thankfully, the movie did exactly that. It earned it. The jokes get better, and there is a lot of amazing shit in store for you that I really want to tell you and show right here, but I'm not because I don't want to spoil it. Go out and see this movie. So let's talk a little bit about the story, which I felt, if anything is gonna be a little bit on the weak side, it would have to be the story. Obviously, from the trailers, you know that this is a movie about Scott Pilgrim and having to fight Ramona's 7 evil exes in order to earn the right to be her boyfriend. That's essentially what it is, but there is a lot deeper message here. The problem is that deep message is gonna go over a lot of people's heads, and I have to admit it went over my head at first. Now, I'm not talking about the clear-cut stuff. Towards the end of the movie, Scott grows, and when he goes into the boss battle, he finds 2 new weapons, and these weapons are symbols of his growth as a person. I don't want to give them away. The problem is, all of the events leading up to this, it doesn't really take the audience with it. It's more, the audience doesn't connect with these characters like Scott Pilgrim. He's an insensitive, rude asshole who pretty much treats his girlfriend Knives, who, by the way, I've got to say, I don't know if anybody's with me on this, but I'd rather be with Knives than Ramona, and that's just me. But anyway, he's an extremely insensitive asshole, even cheating on this girl, essentially, because he's found a new infatuation. He lusts after Ramona. And then you ask yourself, why? Ramona is uninteresting, she's not even really that hot, and on top of all that, he has to deal with like 7 different evil exes that are always beating the shit out of him. But then you realize that that was the point of the movie. You know, this is the way it really is in life, actually, that you have a certain sense of immaturity in these things. And the movie, by the end, shows you that eventually Scott Pilgrim does become mature. He learns what's important, and he learns what he needs to be looking for. However, 2 things with that. The entire journey, the audience doesn't come along with it. It just seems like this message is a little out of place. You go into movies expecting a certain thing, you know? That would be like putting a tragic end into the end of Scott Pilgrim, like Scott Pilgrim dies. It's, sure, it might be more profound and you're saying a message. Don't go batshit crazy with all your superhero video game moves. You might get your ass kicked. But it's not a message that we want to hear, or that the audience is expecting, or that they might have enjoyed more. And I'm saying the director can give whatever message he wants. All I'm saying is that a lot of people will miss it, and they will desire a different ending. And that's number 2. The way that this movie ended, ultimately, he's gonna have to make a decision between Knives and Ramona. And he pretty much goes with what you think he goes, and it just doesn't seem right, you know, especially when one of them is his true soulmate. It makes for a sort of bittersweet ending. And I'm sure all of you fanboys will say, yes, that is exactly the point. That is also supposed to be that way. But you know what? It doesn't make for a compelling ending. It's not the ending that everybody was expecting, and that's fine. That's the message he wanted to convey. That's fine. But because it's like that, I have to say that it sucks because I wanted to give this movie possibly the highest rating that I've ever given. I want you to go out and see it, especially after seeing the box office results. This movie is failing. It's bombing at the box office. What is wrong with you? Get out there and see this movie. Even those small complaints that I had, you need to get out there and see this movie. But as I was saying before, I wanted to rate it higher, but I just couldn't because of those certain things. The beginning was shit, and the story, halfway connected. I understand its message, but yeah, alright, I'll take it. And that's why Scott Pilgrim ultimately, even though has to be a movie with the best fight scenes that I've seen in a long time, Scott Pilgrim comes in at a very solid 9 out of 10. It completely earns our badass seal of approval on the fights alone, let alone the visuals, the video game references, the superhero references, some of the better jokes towards the end of the movie, and the style that this movie oozes the entire time, except for the first 30 minutes. My friends, this is like the reverse Airbender, okay? Whereas the last Airbender was the worst piece of shit I've ever seen, and a crime against all fans of the original cartoon series. This is the reverse of that. It is a shining trophy, an example of how well something can be converted from its original format, the graphic novels, onto the big screen, almost flawlessly. Makes me sick to my stomach that this movie is not being supported. I thought that the female audience would go out and see this movie. It's essentially a sort of a love story, a coming of age, but no. 40% of the expendable moviegoers were female. What? It doesn't make any sense. Why didn't you bitches support Scott Pilgrim versus the world? It's all your fault, girls. Dang it. It's all your fault. In fact, all you women out there, report to my office for an immediate and thorough spanking. For the rest of you guys, I'll see you on the next Angry Joe show, the movie review. I got some serious business to take care of. I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. Oh shit! Are you okay?